Once upon a time, the sweetly pungent smoke of tobacco offered more than dreary old diseases like emphysema and lung cancer. It promised sophistication, sex appeal, even longevity itself. And best of all, it could even help you guard against throat scratch. This is a lie. Most of us know this is a lie. Our knowledge doesn't allow us to believe this. We still may choose to smoke, but we now know that we do it at our peril. But the tobacco industry wants us to smoke. If we don't smoke, they won't have any money. So they still advertise. They still promote their product as something good, as something positive, something to be desired. Who has the best motive for truth-telling here? The doctors or the cigarette advertisers? Who do you trust will give you the knowledge you need to make the right choices?
Hello, I'm Dick Mosley. In 1859, Darwin published his book, The Origin of Species. During the 1960s, this theory made its way into our public schools, universities, and households across the country. Though it was introduced as a theory, it has often been presented as a scientifically proven fact. Is it? Like the smokers of today, are we buying a lie? Let's join Charles as he goes in search of the answer to the Genesis question.
I don't like being lied to, especially when the person who is lying is doing it deliberately because of ulterior motives. And in regards to the Genesis question, I don't want to be lied to either, because where I came from impacts who I am and where I'm going. By my estimation, there really are only two possible answers to the Genesis question. Someone or something planned me and put me here, or I arrived on the stage of life by pure chance. According to the late George Wald, a Nobel Prize winner, the Genesis question boils down to just two possibilities: pattern or chance. Either the evidence indicates some genius designer who had a pattern, a plan, or we came about by random chance through small, gradual changes.
According to the American Heritage Dictionary of Cultural Literacy, evolution occurred in 3 stages. First came chemical evolution, in which organic molecules, the molecules that make up living organisms, were formed. The second stage was the development of single cells capable of reproducing themselves. This led to the third stage, in which organisms developed that were capable of sexual reproduction.
This whole evolution thing is so simple. The theory says it all happened in 3 steps: chemical evolution, then single cells, and finally sexual reproduction. But what if there is no scientific evidence that step 1 could have happened? What if there's a preponderance of improbability that step 1 is even possible? These are not just abstract questions. Charles Darwin himself said,
"If it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down."
According to the inventor of the theory, if chance could not produce a single cell, then the whole theory breaks down. But none of us were there. The evolutionist wasn't there. The creationist wasn't there. To find the answer to this question, all of us are reduced to using the same methods a detective must use in solving a crime. We all must look at the evidence. No one would look at a jet airplane and say,
"Well, I declare, that earthquake really did something special with that junkyard of Uncle Leroy's. I wonder if that junk can fly."
No one would look at a skeleton of a house, all the 2x4s, and say,
"Whoa, isn't it amazing what windstorms do these days, man? Dude, in my day, it just blew things to pieces."
A pattern, a complex structure demands that we reason that someone put things together. Organized supplies, pulled together materials, the right amount of each item, put together in just the right way. This same complex pattern with variable materials, systems, and quantities can be clearly seen in the systems of the human body.
We have many systems in our body. First, there's the digestive system. That's the system that processes all our food we eat. Then, there's the urinary system. This is really important, but I don't want to talk about this. There's the cardiovascular system. Most of us probably know more about our heart and blood than any other system. There's the nervous system. We all know we have one of these because some people get on our nerves. There's a male and female reproductive system. We'll come back to that in a minute. There's the endocrine system. The endocrine glands secrete fluids that help digestion and metabolism, or how your body uses the nutrients in food, air, and water, etc. We also have a lymphatic system. Not optional. Lymph is a courier for the body that transports material that has been liquefied in the bowels or small intestines. There's the skeletal system. Not important to anyone who is a jellyfish, but vital to us. Not only does it hold us up and give us shape, but it helps us make our blood. There's the muscular system. This is what uses our bones as levers to move us about.
The thing that any biologist knows is that all these systems are absolutely dependent on each other. Take away any one of these systems and the whole person ceases to be. These systems cry pattern, plan, purpose, creative genius. I have a question. How many people partially evolved over the supposed billions of years till one person got it right? You know, I'd like to go back to the male-female reproduction system. Evolutionists want us to believe that the male reproductive system evolved at just the right time to work with all the 8 other systems in the man, but also at the same time somewhere in the universe, another person, a female, evolved with the same 9 systems, except her reproductive system was exactly complementary to the male's. And that's how we reproduce the human race. Really. Evolutionists want us to believe that without any outside help, you and I, the flowers and bees, whales, in short, every living thing, all happened by random selection or chance. If we didn't get here by design, then we got here by chance. These are the 2 options. In our search for the truth, we're going to take a closer look at the most basic building blocks of life called amino acids. Every cell in our body is made up of numerous proteins. These proteins are in turn made up of amino acids linked together in long chains. Let's make this simple. Let's say that you're a book with 10 million stories. Each story is one cell of your body. Each cell, or story, is made up of complete sentences called proteins. Each sentence, each protein, is made up of letters called amino acids. You may not know this, but amino acids, or letters, have been created by scientists in a lab. In 1952, a young graduate student at the University of Chicago named Stanley Miller performed one of the most famous experiments in modern science. He wanted to know what chemical reactions might have produced billions of years ago. He constructed an apparatus that contained all the elements that should have been on Earth, a pool of water and several sparking electrodes to simulate lightning. After a week of boiling water and sparking electrodes, Miller discovered several different amino acids had been created.
According to my experiment, the basic materials needed for living organisms could have been available to kickstart biological evolution as proposed by Darwin.
Newspapers declared that Stanley Miller had almost created life in a test tube. Other scientists conducted similar experiments with increased modifications to the environment, and in the next 30 years created all but 3 of the 20 naturally occurring amino acids. But there are some problems. First, his experiment and the following experiments by other scientists created or produced amino acids. They didn't occur naturally. Miller created an amino acid making machine showing that intelligent beings can make amino acids. He did not show that amino acids were made naturally on Earth billions of years ago. In his book, Darwin's Black Box, Michael Behe, a professor of biochemistry at Lehigh University, compares these experiments with a chef who claims that random natural processes can produce a chocolate cake. The cook then proceeds to use refined flour, processed chocolate, measures all the ingredients carefully, mixes them in a bowl, and cooks the cake in an oven because he needs to speed things up. The results end up having nothing to do with the original idea that natural processes could produce a cake. The second problem is that Miller created only some of the amino acids that are essential for building proteins. Now, to my knowledge, no scientist has ever accidentally created a complete list of amino acids or letters needed to create a complete alphabet. I'm sure we can all see that there's an enormous difference between making a few letters of an alphabet and a whole story, or making a few amino acids and making a living organism that can replicate itself. There are a lot of things required to make even a single protein. The first difficulty is as simple as it is profound. All amino acids are either left-handed or right-handed. Start evolution off with a 50-50 mix of left-handed and right-handed amino acids, and you would expect that humans would have both left and right-handed amino acids. But all living things contain only left-handed amino acids. Did you hear that? All living things are made up of proteins with only left-handed amino acids. You and I, flowers and birds, are only made up of left-handed amino acids. This brings us back to the point of evolution and chance. Let's put some real numbers to this and see if this wonderful parade called life could have just happened. Based on studies of Dr. Harold Morowitz, professor of biophysics at Yale, who did extensive research for NASA, the smallest possible living thing would have about 400 amino acids. What if we use the probability theory to find out how likely it is that the smallest possible living thing with 400 amino acids would just happen to have only left-handed amino acids? Well, there's 1 chance in 10 followed by 123 zeros. It's estimated that all the number of protein molecules to have ever existed is only 10 followed by 52 zeros. If Stanley Miller's experiment created both left and right-handed amino acids, it would be logical to expect that chance would have created beings with both left and right-handed amino acids. But the facts are living beings are only made up of left-handed amino acids. And 10 followed by 123 zeros is no chance at all. This one realization should be enough to prove that step 1, chemical evolution, could not have just happened. But it gets even more complicated than this. The average protein in the smallest living creature also has 400 amino acid links, and each link must be in the right order. Each link is kind of like a letter of the alphabet. To get a meaningful word, each letter must be in the right order. If the letters in the word letter are out of order, for example, then you wouldn't get a meaningful word. What is the probability that a chain of 400 amino acid links, by random selection, could align themselves in just the right order? 1 in 10 followed by 240 zeros. If chemicals combined 150,000 trillion times faster than they do in living things and used all the chemical atoms on Earth, there would be only 1 chance in 10, followed by 161 zeros, that a single usable protein could have been produced by chance in the history of Earth. Once you understand these numbers, 10 followed by 123 zeros, that amino acids could all be left-handed, 10 followed by 240 zeros, that they would line up in just the right order. Once you understand these numbers, the evidence forces you to come to the conclusion that small gradual changes, natural laws, chance, didn't make the proteins essential to life. Using the probability theory, mathematicians have come to understand that anything beyond 50 zeros is impossible. For chemical evolution to have worked, you need at least 400 all left-handed amino acids, all in the right order. But for evolution to succeed, we're still short one step, one huge step. Living cells have more than just protein. They also need DNA, which allows them to replicate. Simply put, a living protein the basis of life, cannot replicate itself without an encyclopedia of instruction, a detailed blueprint, which specifies time, quantity, components, and position. Let's say we take all the atoms in the universe and turn them into only the kind of atoms found in DNA. Then we make them combine together into chains again and again at 8 trillion chains a second. Would it be possible for a single DNA gene to happen by chance? Only if we have 10 followed by 147 zeros years. How long is that? In Dr. Lawrence Richards' book, It Couldn't Just Happen, he uses this illustration to help us understand how long 147 zeros years is. Imagine a snail moving so slowly that it takes 3 quintillion years, that's 3 followed by 18 zeros years, to travel just 1 inch. If the snail carried 1 atom across the estimated 30 billion light years of the universe, it would take him about 40 followed by 125 zeros years. At this leisurely pace, the little space crawler would have time to carry 20 followed by 21 zeros universes, 1 atom at a time, across the assumed diameter of the universe during the same time chance would be expected to arrange 1 gene in a usable order. Now, most of us don't understand a word I just said. We have no concept of what 147 zeros years looks like. Most people don't even understand the difference between million, billion, and trillion. A young wife comes to her husband. She says, honey, I need some money to go shopping. The husband holds up his hand, signaling that he's busy. The young wife persists. Please. The husband says, just a minute, George, as he sets down the phone, and he writes her a $1 million check. Spend $1,000 a day and don't come back till you've spent it all, he says. What a deal. How long will it take until the wife returns for more money? 33 months. Here she comes again. The wife comes back. Honey, darling, I need a little more money to go shopping. The young husband doesn't want to have his wife come back quite so soon, so this time he writes her out a $1 billion check. Same rules, $1,000 a day, don't come back till it's gone. How long till his wife comes back this time? It took a little less than 3 years to spend $1 million at $1,000 a day. It takes 2,740 years to spend $1 billion. Oh, here she comes again.
I need some more money to go shopping, dear. I want to go shopping.
The old husband doesn't want to see her back this time, so he writes her out a $1 trillion check. You know the rules, $1,000 a day, don't come back till it's gone. How long will it be until his wife returns for more money? 2,740,000 plus years. That's how long it'll take to spend $1 trillion at $1,000 a day. Do the math. 10 followed by 123 zeros. Another 10 followed by 240 zeros. Another 10 followed by 147 zeros years. By their own numbers, evolutionists don't allow us enough time to even allow for 1 single cell that can self-replicate to evolve. According to research conducted by NASA using the Hubble telescope, astronomers now assume that the Big Bang occurred about 12 billion years ago.
According to the American Heritage Dictionary of Cultural Literacy, the Big Bang occurred 20 billion years ago.
Most evolutionary biologists estimate that life started by chance about 3 billion years ago. Whether 3 or 20 billion years, there still isn't enough time. Let's say that at the Big Bang, all the material needed for life was in one place, and that single explosion created every amino acid needed. It still wouldn't work. Even 20 billion years would not be enough time for all the left-handed amino acids that were needed for life to come together. 20 billion years would not be enough time for them all to line up in just the right order. 20 billion years would not be enough time to create one DNA strand. That would take a lot more than 10 followed by 147 zeros years. The only reason someone would deliberately promote a lie is if there is something to gain. The tobacco industry says strong, mature, grown-up, even sexy. But cancer, emphysema, and lung disease are none of these things. The real reason the tobacco industry continues to promote their deadly lie is for ulterior motives, and that motive is profit. So what is the motive for evolution? What would the patrons of this theory give as their reason for believing and promoting the concept that we are all products of chance, slight mutations that occurred over billions of years? The answer is as startling as it is revealing. Here, in their own words, are the self-stated motives for the promotion of the theory.
With this single argument, the mystery of the universe is explained, the deity annulled, and a new era of infinite knowledge ushered in.
I suppose the reason we leapt at the origin of species is because the idea of God interfered with our sexual mores.
I had motives for not wanting the world to have meaning. Consequently, assumed it had none, and was able without any difficulty to find satisfying reasons for this assumption. For myself, as no doubt for most of my contemporaries, the philosophy of meaninglessness was essentially an instrument of liberation. The liberation we desired was simultaneously liberation from a certain political and economic system and liberation from a certain system of morality.
Their motives, in their own words, are summarized simply. We don't want to believe in God. If we are created by a superior being, then we must be responsible to His laws of morality. We can't have sex with whomever we want, whenever we want. If there is a higher power, then we must be accountable. But if we can create a reason for our existence that makes us a product of chance, then we have no responsibility to be obedient to society's rules or God's laws. Many other famous Darwinists have been atheists. Francis Crick, co-discoverer of the double helix, was a signer of the Humanist Manifesto, which is a foundational document of a major atheist organization. Harvard's Richard Lewontin and Stephen Gould, both leading biological evolutionists, proudly claim Marxist or atheistic inspiration for their biological theories. In my search for the truth, I may not know who or what created me. He, she, it may not even be a nice person. But from the evidence, I know whoever the Creator is incredibly brilliant, beyond our human capability of understanding. Does it seem wise? Is it reasonable to ignore the glaring evidence? Because we don't want to be moral, because we don't want to be accountable, is that a good enough reason to dismiss the notion of God? The Judeo-Christian philosopher Paul said, "Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, He gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, and deceit, malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful, and they invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, and ruthless. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them." So what are the results of teaching our young people that they came from slime, that they'll return to slime, and that'll be that? What is the result of teaching our young people that they are a product of random selection, chance, instead of a wonderful creation made by a God who wants to have fellowship with us? Well, current statistics tell us that we have an epidemic on our hands. Suicide is currently the third leading cause of death among teenagers in the United States, and it is estimated that 300 to 400 teen suicides occur per year in Los Angeles County alone. This is equivalent to one teenager lost every day. Evidence indicates that for every suicide, there are 50 to 100 attempts at suicide, and due to the stigma associated with suicide, available statistics may well underestimate the problem. Nevertheless, these figures do underscore the urgent need to seek a solution to the suicide epidemic among our young people. The first solution is to quit telling them they evolved. When young people believe that they came from nothing and are going to nothing, it's logical for them to conclude that their life means nothing. Quit telling them that they're a freak chance of nature. Show them the wonderful pattern. Tell them what the psalmist realized a long time ago when he said, I will praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are your works, and that my soul knows very well. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. Newton's third law of motion states that for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. So tell our young people that this life is just a passing moment, a random chance of nature, and for this action, see if we don't have a negative reaction. Over 1,350,000 abortions are performed every year in the United States. That's 3,700 lives every day snuffed out, cut short, gone. And why not? If we're only a freak of nature, an accident of chance, if Darwin was right and it's survival of the fittest, then who cares? It doesn't matter. If a mom can kill my sister, then why can't I kill myself? If Dad and Mom can kill my brother, then why should I value human life? But we didn't evolve. The pattern tells us that there is a pattern maker. I believe He sent us this message through His servant Jeremiah. I have loved you with an everlasting love. Therefore, with loving kindness have I drawn you. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you. Plans to give you hope and a future. So call upon me and come and pray to me, and I will listen to you. This is the truth that changes people. This is the truth that makes them different, kinder, better. It is time for us Americans to be honest. If we don't like God, if we don't want to serve Him, then just say that. But we shouldn't try to find some lame excuse that shows our ignorance, foolishness, and perhaps even stupidity. We did not evolve. I'll freely admit that it takes faith to believe that there is a Creator. But it is a faith based on the reality of evidence. It takes blind faith to believe in evolution. We are in trouble as a nation. Our morals are bankrupt. We are evolving, but in a downward spiral of degeneration. Is there any hope? I believe there is.
A complex design causes each of us to come to the conclusion that there was a master designer. No reasonable person would suggest that the Colosseum in Rome did evolve or even could evolve no matter how much time was given. But who is the Creator? Can we know Him, her, or it? Is the Creator an intelligent being or merely a universal force? Next time, in our search for the truth, Charles will be taking us to the Middle East, where he will again look critically for the answers to these questions. Join our search for the truth next time as we find the Creator's message in a bottle.